For those with good taste.
And we're back, Tasties and Tastettes, for another little review. The first 5 episodes of OBX season 4, brain fart. Something that I especially have been hyping up, but Dante hopped on the hype train. And yeah, we want to get into it and talk about it. Before so, though, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe down below.
Yes.
So there was a heightened level of excitement from us going into this season. You had just gotten done with up to season 3. We kind of talked about it a little bit on the podcast, the last episode we released. But just to kind of recap.
We're trying to let Dave know what he was missing out on.
Yeah, he's not listening. So what's interesting, Dante, we won't really recap, I suppose, your thoughts, because you were excited. You enjoyed the 3rd season quite a bit. I was reading some like Reddit stuff, and it seems like the popular opinion is the first 2 seasons are great, and then people think that the 3rd season was kind of a drop off a little bit.
Oh, I love the 3rd season.
I thought it was really good as well. Like,
I like the 3rd season because it just, I don't know, it made it more grand, I feel like.
Yeah, so I think every season has increased in scale with popularity and budget, I'm sure, has added a lot to that. But I also just liked, like, the characters changed, and I think, like, you got developments from people. Like, I thought, like, Pope's character had different
like Pope
or
and
new
Cleo.
wrinkles.
Yeah, I think that was another big thing I liked about season 3.
Yeah, you added interesting characters like Cleo, but I thought, like, Pope, like, you got more of an anger out of him, like a frustration from being beat down. Over the 2
it was
seasons.
no longer the Pope that was like, oh my God, guys, I still got my future ahead of me. I'm scared to get in trouble. No, now he's like, yeah, no, let's fuck shit up. I'm angry.
Yeah. Like, I thought that was great. I think the development of JJ and Key and like that relationship had grown quite a bit. And then like John B, not just being like him chasing after Sarah. It was really like he got his dad back and how that affected him. I thought there was a lot of interesting things that they did with that season.
Like, and that was good developmentally, but I think that was probably one of the more annoying things of season 3 for me is John being his dad.
Okay. Like, I thought it was frustrating that John kept choosing his dad, but I think that it's meant to be frustrating, and I think you should also understand as the viewer, right?
No, I get that that's like a device of the way they're telling the story. You're meant to feel that way. I just didn't like feeling that way.
I get it. So I think that carries into, I had read like a Reddit post in relation to season 4. And in part of so let's talk about this first, I suppose. How did you feel about releasing the season in 2 parts? I just called it an episode again.
I don't think it's necessary. Like, I really don't understand why they felt the need to do this unless the other half of the season isn't done yet. But I can't imagine they're making any real progress putting them only a month apart. Because
the gripe that I'm seeing with season 4 is traditionally, I think in the first 3 seasons, the first few episodes of each season, I mean, I guess like season 3 starts with you like on Pogue Island. It's pretty go from the start. But you were so far into that story at that point that like there wasn't as much time to build story into it. You had already had the story. Yeah. The gripe with this is that like there's 5 episodes. Yeah, there's 5 episodes, and at least you don't really get into the meat of what they're going after
until the 3rd episode.
I would say even episode 5 is where you really start to make a ton of like major movement. Like there's like the deep diving scene and stuff like that, right? But like episode 5 is where like a lot of action picks up in this season. So you essentially get 4 episodes, which, to be fair, I enjoyed quite a bit. I don't necessarily share this opinion, but I think the opinion online is like it's a lot to get into what you're going after and then to just not have any more episodes to watch. Now, part of me is like, well, now is episodes 6 through 10 going to be just balls to the wall the whole time?
I mean, given how previous seasons have gone, that's what I'm expecting. Like, it's just going to be go, go, go from here on.
And so, like, I guess that's kind of my point where it's like, I think it's only a gripe with season 4 because you don't have 6 through 10 to just get into and watch. And so you feel that pacing a little bit more. And another gripe, and we'll get into like the episodes, and I think this will kind of play out through them. So we start off the show with we had ended season 3 with them getting Blackbeard brought up to them.
Yeah.
And then the first episode of this season is before any of that conversation ever happens, which I think is an interesting way to approach things.
Okay.
Well, yeah, because you end up having the Blackbeard conversation.
Yeah, you're right.
You
okay.
know, later on.
I'm sorry, before we recorded, I told you this isn't as fresh in my head, but I'm picking it up now.
Yeah, so you start with them just getting the money, basically. Like the payoff from the 3 seasons prior, the money that they've been chasing after gets deposited into their account.
Yeah.
And it leads to JJ doing like the most JJ shit possible.
Love that, man.
So I think that they did a hell of a job in the first couple episodes of this season of being like, do I like JJ?
Oh, I love JJ.
Because he's it's such an inconsiderate move what he did through the first 2 episodes of this season with their collective money. And the fact that they shared a bank account was like a crazy move to begin with.
Yeah, definitely a crazy move.
Very
but also I don't think you can really call it selfish because like it wasn't JJ being selfish as much as it was just like, no, this is what we want and I'm gonna get it for us.
No, it was selfish because it was his house.
Fair.
It was his sentimental attachment to that home and somebody else trying to take it from him.
Except they weren't trying to take it from him. They were just trying to drive up the price.
Yeah, exactly. Like screw them out of, like screw them over. Yeah. But it was I think that's where it was selfish, is that like they went in with a plan. He disregarded that plan, as he did further into the season too. And like this is where the character, there's a lovable aspect of like his, we use the word unhinged too much. So I'm trying to find like a different word, but like, he's just very quick. Yeah, he's very quick to just make the craziest decision possible. And when he's not checked or like reined in, and they just couldn't stop him on this one. Yeah, he ends up spending I
think it was like 800,000
out of their million, like 1.1 million that they had.
Yeah.
And then left them with not a lot to be able to do the work on the place that they needed to. And the one thing I appreciate about this show, and they did it with season 3 with Poglandia to begin with, and then you get this redo of that in season 4, is they do what like any group of friends would love to do if they have all this money.
And they have a shared interest, like, surfing and boating.
Like what if we all just stay together? We use this money to create a world where we can sustainably do this together.
And now they can all
forever.
live together.
I thought it was a great plan. And I love the way it happens. And like the end product looks fucking awesome.
But let me ask you this. In what world do you find El Dorado and run out of money a few years later?
Not even it's 6 months or some shit, dude. 18 months. I think it's like a year and a half.
Like a year and a half later. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was at least 2 years, but yeah.
No, it's like a year and a half later. Well, it's when you have a person who just doesn't like have a care in the world. I think
saying
it's like
El Dorado should be serious, like fuck you money, like I can spend whatever I want and I'll never run out.
I think also part of the problem is like JJ doesn't want to have money. Like he doesn't want to be on the other side of the island. Be a kook, yeah. So having that money, it's easier for him to get rid of it and go back to the world that he knows. And it's a family trait, right? Like his dad is very much like what we've seen of the same mind,
Yeah.
So I think that was part of it. I did see like in the negatives to this is like part of this story only plays out like they wrote like almost that storyline is there to be the crux of why the rest of the season happens, rather than like they could have not had JJ do all that, and they could have just been like, they're treasure hunters now. Like they did it once.
Do it again, yeah.
And like we'll do it again. And instead they go the route of like, well, they don't want to do it again. And the only reason that they do it again is because of this story.
I think it works better that way, because if they have money to fund their treasure hunt, then it's not as much of a problem when like, Rafe Cameron comes around.
Yeah, they can contend with those people a
exactly.
bit. But so getting into the next selfish act of JJ, the enduro race. Like again, who else is that for? Like, just take the last money that we have in without consulting with anybody else for group
again, I'm
money.
trying to see it from his perspective. Like he really thought he couldn't lose.
Yeah, he just but
he really thought he was doing the best thing for the group.
It's just
He's
like, dude,
yo, I'm going to double this up.
The first time you did this, it wasn't your money to just do this with. And now you do it again. Why are we still friends with you? And it's like, because we've accepted that this is the way.
Because now it's beyond the point of friends. Now it's like family. Like no matter what they do, you're kind of stuck with them kind of thing.
Yeah. But like Pope was about fucking done with him. Like,
oh yeah.
Oh yeah. And then blaming John B for losing the race was like even more fucked up. Like, like, dude, he told you from the beginning, like, my bike's not made for this. Like, what am I supposed to fucking do?
Yeah.
And somebody else said, like, the idea that nobody else thought to jump across that ravine or whatever, like make the bike jump, and he was the only one who considered doing it is very funny. Like that literally
Such a simple jump.
They made a jump there. Like it almost feels like it's only there for that reason. Yeah. So why wouldn't other people do that? I think that JJ has been kind of interesting. Like, I think it is the psychological aspect of dealing with like going from having nothing to having everything, and how you deal and cope with that stuff. And I think you look at like the relationship to Key and her just kind of having to now like make excuses almost for it. Like she's not even like calling him out for it. It's just kind of like, yeah, but he's my fucking wild card, you know, like, and like not blind to it, because she definitely knows, but like just forgiving it without a care, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that you kind of get it. The first 2 episodes for JJ, I think, were rough for me personally. The next 3, I think he's better, you know. You get the scene when they're scuba diving and he like saves her and everything, and like I think that's where you start to see like the stuff you love about JJ kind of come through, and about their relationship and why people wanted to see them together as badly as they did, you know. Because another complaint in that same Reddit post that I was reading when I was kind of looking at some stuff for season 4 was like one of the complaints with it was the show used to be more about like this collective of friends. It was about the 5 of them being like, there was no complications. John B and Sarah were always a thing, but the rest of it was more like
no poke on poke match.
Yeah, like they were all just super close, and now it's more like everybody, they're all in couples, you know, and like it's not as much this group thing as it is like JJ and Key, Sarah and John B, Pope and
now they're just extravagant
Cleo.
Triple dates.
Yeah, you know, but I do like that one thing they did with this season though is, and I wonder if some of this is by design with like the relationship in real life between like Madeline Klein and Chase. Like you look at the last episode with separating, and like John B's kind of doing, it goes and does this while Sarah ends up with Pope doing this, and like it leaves Cleo by herself. You know what I mean? Like I like that like they didn't just say like, well, like John B and Sarah are a couple, we should make them do this together. It's like, no, like you are still getting like these unique pairings, because you don't get a ton of Pope and Sarah just like on their own doing stuff.
No, not at all.
And I thought that they were a good combination in the Catacombs like episode, you know? I think that giving Chloe her own arc in this season makes her not feel as much like makes her feel like not as much of a side character to it.
I like that, because I like her character a lot.
Yeah, she's really great. Like she has her own personality. She has her own like, you know, like her own kind of like swagger to her that stands out from the rest of them, but has become kind of part of what they are. She just acclimated very well to the rest of them, and feels like she could have been a character from the very beginning with the cast, right?
Yeah.
And I think that that's a tribute to what the show's been able to do, because you wouldn't have thought when you first see her in the beginning of season 2 that she was going to end up being
with the crew,
like a mainstay like this. But then, bringing back Terrence, the one thing that like, I didn't expect that to happen.
No,
and I thought it was perfect, because Terrence was both unlikable and very likable all at the same time, you know, in the times we've seen him previously.
And like when she's talked about him, she's always like spoke about him in that similar sense of like, he was there for me ever since I was young, but at the same time, he's the kind of person that's so fucked up you never want to cross him.
Yeah.
And so like you're getting to that point where it's like, oh shit, now he's mixed up in this. Is he going to fall on her side, or is he going to be, you know, fucked up?
And you get that emotional payoff of like what's going to be the thing that drives her for at least the foreseeable future of the show. And like you get some of the progression of that through episode 5 of retribution, right? Like that's what her arc is now. Yeah. Like she has, like you had the relationship, you had her becoming part of the group, you had the relationship arc with her and Pope becoming as close as they did. And now it's on to the next thing for her, which is retribution for Terrence, right? Pope, as far as what's driving everybody, like I think JJ now clearly has a story that's driving him, and you get more of that in episode 5. I think the other 4 outside of him and Cleo, it's a little bit more like ambiguous as to what's driving them, other than just money to survive at this point, you know?
Well, yeah. I mean, especially for Sarah, I think it's just survival at this point. She has nowhere else to turn.
Yeah, and in coping, like I've seen, I think it's a lot of like her and John B just, and they talk about this like in the beginning of the show, like beginning of season 4, like both of them lost their fathers in the end of season 3, and like there's a bond that's driven through that of them both having just each other now to really turn to. And I do want to get into Rafe because I think that he might be the next most interesting character in all of this season so far. And I kind of knew that that's how this was going to play out just from the promotional stuff that we were getting before season 4.
I didn't watch any of it.
Yeah, like there was just a lot of interviews, and he was such a main part of those interviews. And I think that the character's really interesting. And we can kind of get into this now. I think him and Key's relationship is the most interesting of any of it. Really, him and Sarah's interesting too. But the scene in the boathouse with him in the shop with the bait shop or whatever, with him and Key, is the first time you see them back together since they were together at the beginning of season 3.
In the house, right? Yeah.
In like they had a moment there, right? Like, and this is pre her and JJ and everything, and like they definitely had a moment there. And she obviously was never going to choose him over her friends, and like steals the boat from him and everything. But I think you see him dealing with like he started to change as a character at the end of season 2. Or season 3, rather.
I would say at the end of season 3.
Yeah, at the end of season 3 with his dad.
really flipped after his dad died. But I think he was changing a lot before that, too.
Yeah, he was starting to kind of... His dad was getting through to him a little bit. And it's weird because we talked about this a few weeks ago. Like, it's weird because Ward was conflicted as a character the same way. Yeah. And you see a lot of shades of that with Rafe, where it's like, as much as they know that they should bring the family together and like look out for Sarah, there's still this side of it that's like, well, we're fucking, kooks.
We're on
not
opposite sides of this.
Yeah,
right now,
we're not pogues, and like I don't want. Everything in me says not to go to that side, even if it's where you are, And you get that on the beach scene, which I think is one of the better scenes of the show, and it has nothing to do with the treasure hunt or anything. But this season is like the turtles and in dealing with the idea that. Key is, it's like that activist stuff that you got in season 1 that you haven't really gotten since then,
You've gotten little bits and pieces of it, but never that extreme. Like, I think there was a point where she was like recycling or some shit, like trash around the beach or something.
And you also, I think, the kooks versus pogues thing, through a lot of it, you've known that the kooks are the bad guys, but at the same time, it's like they get like the pogues antagonize it just as much. Yeah. And this was one of the true times where like you can just truly hate the kooks. Like that girl is fucking awful. And the fact that Topper is just like knows it's wrong, doesn't want to do it, but at the same time gets punked by everybody there into just doing what he doesn't want to, which makes me wonder what his arc is going to be.
Oh, Topper's just completely broken.
Yeah.
Like broke that man's heart. Now he just wants like violence.
But at the same time, like he was so heavily conflicted. He didn't want to get into the car and go torment him. He was perfectly content with the idea that they didn't need to fight anymore. Like they had their little like conversation on the beach that was very tit for tat. Like, you're going to push my buttons, I'm going to push yours. JJ's an asshole, but like didn't cross the line to where it needed to be like a physical altercation. It's like you dropped in on my fucking wave, which is interesting segue. I watched a show on Netflix. I can't remember the fucking name of it now. Let me try and find it. But it's a surfing show on Surviving Summer is the name of it.
Okay.
On Netflix. I think it's coming back for season 3 soon, but it's 2 seasons on there, and it's about this girl who lives in New York who was a troublemaker and gets sent to live with her mother's friend who lives in Australia, and she takes up surfing, and they call people kooks on the island that they're on, which I thought was like a super interesting thing. But it's all a lot about surfing, and like one of the things like not dropping in on other people's waves, and it's about competitive surfing, not like surfing for fun. It's like they're trying to do it professionally, and in competitions. I don't really understand that. I've seen like surfing competitions on ESPN once or twice, but like I don't know shit about it. It doesn't make, even watching the show, I don't know what makes one run better than the next necessarily. Like
a lot of them rides a bigger wave.
No, I think it's the way
tricks on the wave.
I think it's the way you cut like your board in the wave, and how how sharp some stuff are. If you get air off of the wave, like there are things, but like I can't, to an eye that's not trained to it, can't really tell you what looks better. But one of the major points in it is like, yeah, you have a certain time on the clock. You have like 10 minutes on the clock or like 30 minutes on the clock to just go out there and surf. And each person needs to put at least 2 scored waves up. And the way it works is you have a person who's entitled to the wave, but it doesn't mean they necessarily get that wave. Like they just get first go at it. But if somebody beats you to it, it's their wave. And that's kind of where it was with like watching this season of Outer Banks and seeing that and being like, oh, like, yeah, JJ, you just jumped the line. Like he had,
I know game.
Yeah, like Topper had priority on that wave, and you just jumped him like that. That's fucking crazy. You don't like that. You don't jump another man's wave like that, dude. unless you're trying to antagonize them, you know. But yeah, I thought that was a really good scene, and I thought it was a really good scene for the idea of watching just from afar the way that Rafe dealt with it. You know, like watching it, and he's part of him is like, yeah, I'm on this side, but the other part of him's like conflicted because he sees Sarah. He
sees Sarah, yeah, and so he doesn't want to fully drive into the whole beef.
Yeah, because he hasn't really made the effort yet because she's so resistant to the idea. Rightfully so. I mean, he tried to fucking kill her. So like, he was a piece of shit in season 2.
Yeah,
to her, and like drugs were a major part of that. And like,
but I love that he's just like now, like, hey, listen, like I know I tried to kill you, but I fucked up.
Yeah, and
I'm sorry.
And so getting to. And you also had the scene, like the girlfriend, I think adding the girlfriend for him is interesting. That he also is dating a girl who's a poke now, you know? And like the scene of him talking when she's not there. And like, he's so it's so funny as dudes. Because like, you know, it's like when your boys are like, you don't want to admit that you really, really like care about somebody.
No, she ain't shit. That's just a little side piece.
Yeah, I would never like fall in love with a poke. Like, let's be honest. Like that would never happen. Like that's just totally the way that a dude deflects his feelings. Is just to badmouth them and then like go back to her and just be like the sweetest dude in the world, you know? So it works. But I like that is part of the reason by when you get to see episode 5 softens him letting the ego down to go there.
I like that it looks like their relationship's going to survive too. Cause like after her overhearing that conversation,
she hasn't told him the truth yet though.
I know. But I think he's fallen deep enough that he'll get past it. He'll be pissed.
Yeah, it's going to be a problem, I'm pretty sure.
But I think they're going to last.
Because he has sunk in a lot of, like, $400,000, right, into the property that they asked him to invest just off of her.
Yeah.
You know.
I love that she, like, figures out, like, she likes him a little too late. And she goes, well, actually, I think you should probably back out of that deal. Is it too late? And he's like, yeah, no, I already signed.
Well, it's like she did that out of like being pissed off and like pettiness for hearing him say those things.
Yeah.
Right. But at the same time, time passes and she's like, we're good, you know?
Yeah.
And like, I think it's because he's making some changes to himself and she's helping him grow.
She's kind of pushing him in that direction. Yeah.
So you get to that conversation with Key. And I do wonder because it does definitely still feel like there's tension that's more than just like friendship tension between him and Key. And if you know you read like the Reddit stuff and things like that, there's definitely people out there that are like we're kind of already. It's funny how like the internet works and how people work. Everybody wanted JJ and Key. Like it's like the relationship that everybody was like shipping on the show. It's like you know we've got John B and Sarah, like that was great, but like they're settled now. Like you know that they're kind of a thing. Now we need to get JJ and Key together. You finally get JJ and Key together and everybody's like, but Rafe and Key have this sexual tension that we really need to explore here, you know? And I think that even that scene is like very uncomfortable, but it's like, she doesn't trust him, rightfully so, because he's been a psycho through a lot of the things he's done in the first 3 seasons of the show. So rightfully so to not trust him. But at the same time, that moment in the house in season 3, like the time they spent in that house was him genuinely being like, well, we have a common thing that we need to get through. And they were able to work together to execute that stuff. And there was clearly like a bond that was driven somewhere in there that she sees more than him just being like that guy, you know? And I like that he, even through it, is like old Rafe with the attitude that she was giving him would have just lost his fucking mind. But it was said, instead it was like, Key, I'm trying to be fucking nice to you right now. Don't push me, please. Like I'm trying to turn over a leaf. Don't make me be that guy because it's still in here. I'm just trying to like move on,
He's very much moving towards like becoming Ward Cameron.
Yeah, and if you watch the preview for the second half of the season, he's involved in the rest of the season. Like he's going to be on the trip with them where they're going to try and get the treasure.
Well, we already knew that was going to happen.
Yeah, like, but I think that's going to be interesting because I think it's nice.
With them or like hunting against them?
No, he's going to be with them. I'm pretty sure. If you watch the teaser trailer for the second half of the season, he's with them. I'm pretty sure. And I think that it's cool because I think, to have a show run as long as these do, you have to have those arcs. And I think the thing you're looking at now to keep progressing the story is like him and Sarah making amends. If you can, I think that him having a face turn and being a good guy is an interesting turn to the story. And let's be honest.
But then who's going to be the bad guy?
I mean, there's that lady. I was going to say he's going to get screwed over by the people that tricked him into investing, right? Like,
true, yeah,
he's going to have a common enemy to them. The people that are trying to take their land are the same people that just conned him out of that money because that deal is not legit.
I wonder if Barry comes into the mix in season 4.
They were on the red carpet. Like, they were asking, like, what character do you want to see a side show? Like, would you like to see a standalone, like, side series for? And everybody was just like, Barry's stuff on the island. Like, what is Barry up to?
It's just the island version of Breaking Bad.
Yeah. Him just like cooking meth in his trailer and drug dealing on the island. I was like, yeah, that'd be actually a fun little show. Like, Barry is definitely the character that, like, I don't know if we'll see him again or not, but I definitely enjoy him. You know who frustrates me though? Is Shoop.
Yeah. It's like he's always on the money, but takes a little too long to get there.
At this point, they have been wrongfully accused and been proven right of all of their stuff that like they should be given some fucking leeway, and instead they get none of it. Like, and JJ does some of it to himself too.
The one that would have given him leeway was Peterkin, but she's gone.
Yes, she did give him the leeway. Yeah. But the idea that like, what did you think when Terrence dies? Do you think that they made the right decision? Because Key obviously was like, we did nothing wrong, which they did nothing wrong. They could have very easily just like...
And then Pope's just like, oh, now we moved a body. Now we did something wrong.
Yeah. Do you think that they should have told him? Or I think it's trauma from him never believing them about anything.
I think the problem is it's exactly that. Like, if they tell him, he'll just blame them and it'll be forever before they can get their names cleared.
Yeah.
So it's like, in their head, I get it. It's like, oh, it's better we hide it for now, figure our shit out, and then we can clear it up later.
And especially because it's not like Terrence is a native of the banks. So
they're not going to realize he's missing that.
Yeah. Like, they can get rid of the body and it's like it never happened, essentially. Which made me think about, like, because you get the flashbacks to John B. with his dad.
When his dad killed the two guys on the boat.
Nobody ever, like, questioned where those two guys went to. Like, I don't know. Like, were they not from the island either? I can't really remember.
I forget. I think they were, like, working for Singh, right?
Yeah.
Like, they were Singh's henchmen.
So they were sent there.
Yeah.
Okay. Because that was another one where it's like they just murked two dudes and nobody ever was like, where'd these two guys go?
Nope. It was just like, blah.
What do you think of the bad guys in this season? Because, like, we talked about the woman, the investor woman.
Yeah.
But there's the other female who's Walking Dead alum. And then I forget the other guy's name, but, like, the one who was
scuba dude.
The scuba dude. And, like, yeah, he's definitely the one who's, like, the main, like, physical bad guy.
Yeah, he's the muscle.
Do you think, like, where do they rank among, like, you have your like Singh, and you have Sarah's dad, Ward, like you have those bad guys. Like, where do you...
Ward, technically you had Terrence, right? Was he a bad guy for a while?
For a brief moment.
No. He was actually helping them.
He screwed them at one point when he was trying to get the reward.
You're right. I mean, as of right now, they don't rank very high, but I think that's because we don't know a ton about them.
I mean, I think on a viciousness level, I mean, this guy killing Terrence, like, in, like, holding Cleo at gunpoint, like, in just, like, the underwater, like, stealing. He tried to kill Key. Like, he 100% tried to murder her. But, like, I think that, like, that is a level, he's already, like, escalated to a level very quickly to me that, like, a lot of them haven't. So in an imposing idea, I think that he is more intimidating in some ways, because you already are established from the first time you see this guy. You don't know it's him, but, like, underwater, he's already established, like, I will kill somebody for this. There's no talking that's necessary or anything like that. if I need to, I will just rip the oxygen off of you and like you're this far under the water. I like the bends. I think that you don't get enough of it. There's one movie, I think it was like 40 meters down or something like that, with like Mandy Moore. I'm pretty sure they have the bends and like they hallucinate the whole thing from the bottom of the ocean.
Oh, you know what? I haven't seen that one, but the other one, the Tower movie that you made me watch, you said was similar to that.
Yeah, definitely just like different spectrums. One's really high up, one's really low down. But yeah, similar movies. But yeah, you don't get a ton of that. And then I like that they were just like, I have to imagine there's cameras inside of that tube that they're put in to like equalize
in that
themselves,
room?
right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and they just fucked. JJ and Key were like, we'll just put a pillow in front of this window. Dude, there's probably cameras inside of there. It is what it is.
At the end of the day, do you think they give a fuck? JJ definitely doesn't.
How quickly would you go insane in that?
I mean, how long were they in there again?
I think it was at least 24 hours, but it could have been longer than that. Or was it 12 hours?
Even then, like,
they were in there for a long time.
I would go claustrophobic, like I'd go manic, like I just couldn't do it. Like you'd have to sedate me.
Like JJ's reaction is very warranted. Like when he's just faking why he broke through the window to escape it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you kept us in there too long, like everything like that. It's like, yeah, no, like, however, like if you were in there for a half a day or a day, at least you're in there with somebody. Imagine being in there alone. It's like, dude, you don't have a TV screen in here. You don't have fucking music playing. I don't have a book. Like, what am I supposed to?
Wi-Fi.
Yeah, what was I supposed to do in here, dude? There should be a fucking USB port and somewhere for me to charge a phone and just sit here and scroll TikTok for like 19 hours. Like that's the minimum you could give me in this room.
Of course, that's what you would do.
Yeah, 100%. That's where I could lose a couple hours at least, dude. But all you've left me to do is sleep.
Yeah, no, that sucks. Especially if I'm not tired.
Do you think this is all disappointing? And I guess you kind of did this with the original treasure hunt. So it starts off as Blackbeard's treasure, but very quickly it's not Blackbeard's ship anymore. It's onto the Blue Crown or whatever it is.
But it's the Blue Crown that was on Blackbeard's ship.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just a specific piece of treasure amongst his treasure, but the goal is still to find his treasure.
Do you think it will actually have supernatural like properties like they're talking about?
None of it has up until this point, so I don't think so. But like, if you remember, like the thing with the shawl, right, where it was like, oh, like this super magic, like healing shawl, and like remember John B, his dad, like lied to her. I think it'll probably be something like that, where like somebody's gonna believe it has powers, and something will come of that. But I don't think it actually does.
Yeah, it's just gonna be like, it's a myth, but it's not like one that'll pay. Like you just wonder with this show because like it has built in its like.
But the problem is, if they do that, then this starts diving over into supernatural, and I think that kind of kills the show.
Yeah. Yeah, well, but I think the argument is some people think it's already, some of the aspects that made the show great has already changed because it's gone kind of that Fast and Furious direction where like we were just normal teens at one point who followed clues to now being like able to do like deep sea diving and shit like that, to where like what's stopping them from continuing down this road, you know?
Yeah, it's definitely ridiculous in that sense because I think at this point they're still only like like 17 or 18, so like
yeah. And John B, and you know how old Chase Stokes is in real life?
He's got to be knocking close to 30.
32.
Oh shit.
He's the oldest cast member.
Playing a 19-year-old.
Because yeah, exactly. Isn't that crazy? Like he's like 32. I think a couple of the others are like 27, 28, and there might be only one that's like 24.
Wow.
And they're all playing like 18, 19-year-olds. Kind of crazy. Last thing, the revelation that we got in the end of episode 5 with JJ and his dad having the conversation.
Oh, yeah.
Is this another one, though, similar to what we were saying with the idea of like the money, like him having to gamble away the money to give them the motivation for the story to progress? Is this just a little too cute, I suppose, like as far as advancing the story, that like he just magically, like his dad wasn't his dad and he has a rich family and that he's already dealing with the fact that he had money and threw it all away because he didn't want to be a kook. And now the next half of this season is going to be like, he really is a kook. He just had nothing to show for it. And he'll be bitter about, like, that's, I guess, enough for him to be bitter about.
I don't think it's fair to say he really is a kook just because he comes from a rich family. Because, like, that would be the same thing as saying, like, no, he's actually a kook.
Well, he's called her a kook multiple times.
But he didn't mean it.
Okay. Yeah. Because is Sarah still a kook or is she a poke?
She ain't got shit left. She's Pogue now.
Yeah, she's Pogue through and through. She threw all that away.
Yeah. She couldn't be a kook if she wanted to.
Yeah, no, that's fair. But like, because now is JJ like the rightful inheritant to a bunch of fucking money?
I mean, whether or not that's the case, he's still gonna share it with all of them.
Because then
unless his dad tries to talk him, Luke tries to talk him out of it,
which is attached to the woman who is the investor, right?
Yeah.
Or like the person helping get this property off the ground. So like, it's going to be a battle. Like, this is the new Ward Cameron, right? Where it's like his dad is the bad guy, really, or one of the bad guys, it would seem, on the other end of it. I think it's an interesting spin to the story, and like I want to see where it goes. That's a good cliffhanger as far as like ending the 5 episodes at. But I did think it was a little bit like, of course, it's like soap opera. Like, of course, that's his like not his real
given all
parents.
The twists we've gotten in this show. Are you surprised?
No, not at all, not at all. It's just like sometimes with it, I'm like, do I need this? You know, I love almost everything about the show. It's just some of those times where I'm like, they just up the drama just to do it. Like I don't know if the story could have just played out differently without doing that. But
it sure could have. But
yeah, do you think? Last thing. Do you think that this is going to be a self-contained 1 season thing, or are we building towards 5 episodes to leave us for the season 5 that's still continuing chasing the same treasure?
Up until now, each season has been a singular treasure hunt.
No, I mean, like,
yes.
I think the first 3 seasons were all El Dorado, basically.
No, they were all tied to Demartani, but they were all separate treasures.
But I guess
first
that's
season
what I
was
mean.
finding the lost gold from the royal merchant.
Yeah.
And then the second season was, oh shit, there's more. And then they get the cross, right?
But it's still like one story. Like that 3 seasons is all one arc, basically.
Sure,
I understand that there's like chapters to it.
So like, yeah, this could probably like continue into season 5 with the thing about JJ's real family or whatever. But like, they're going to find Blackbeard's treasure in this season.
But they're going to find out that there's more.
Of course, there's always more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think, what they've given us so far leads me to believe that there's 100% a season 5. Because there's just too much to tell in 5 episodes. And it would feel, if there wasn't a season 5, it would feel too rushed to give me everything I need for like a full story closure for the whole show, things like that. In just 5 episodes.
They can't wrap this up in 5 episodes. No.
So yeah, I think
as far as like the arcs of like the characters and stuff, no, they're not wrapping that up this season. But I think this treasure hunt is wrapping up this.
I think I read it did 15 million viewers for like the initial release when season 4 came out.
That's just what Netflix is telling you. I don't believe any of that.
I mean, I think that's, if they were going to tell you something that wasn't true, I think it would be higher than that.
Yeah. And
I read that from one source, but it was like 15.5 million or something for opening weekend, which is a healthy number, certainly.
Yeah.
You know? I don't know. Let us know out there if you're watching, first of all. And if there's anything, that you're excited to see, who's the character standouts for you? What are the storylines you're most interested in? Is this going to be wrapped up in this season? Where do we go next? And we'll be back after the first week of November when the rest of the season 4 drops. Anything else, Dante? You're supposed to tell them to like, comment, share, and subscribe on the video.
Oh, and that was my line?
Yeah. And come back for the next one.
That's always your line.
Well, now I took care of it. I'll do the heavy
what
lifting.
I need you guys to do is like, comment, share, and subscribe. Drop some comments down below. Give us your thoughts. And tune in for the next one.
Peace out.
Peace.
For those with good taste.